Day one, wet skid pad and the autocross.
That's a tough act to follow. Stand by, ready? And go!
So, just didn't give the grip I quite wanted to. Didn't quite get the balance out of the tires that I wanted. But overall, okay. Day two, Nelson Ledges up in Ohio.
So Nelson Ledges, I mean, that's quite a historic track. I had, read about the races there. So I enjoyed Nelson Ledges. I don't know if we'll wind up going back there, but I thought it was a fun track.
This is a really short track. Really enjoyed this track. Not real hard to learn. Only a few corners. One of the few that I didn't have any opportunity to spend any time on the simulator with.
Very old track, but a fun track. It was my first chance to really get the Mini out on a track, and I had a good time. Weather was a little iffy, kept the infield really soaked and muddy and all that, but the track generally was dry.
Really our first chance to benchmark at speed, and I felt like we had a pretty okay day. Still getting settled in with the car, but the tires were much better, the balance was much better, the car performed more to what we expected.
Road Atlanta was certainly the marquee track of this event, and one I was really looking forward to. It turned out we got to load them all in the minivan, and I got to drive them around some laps there. And I'm pretty sure I did a better time in the minivan than I did in the Mini. Chance to get out there and run on this track at speed was really cool. I'd had a couple of parade laps around there, 25-mile-an-hour parade laps, but those were really pit exit to pit in, so it didn't go through turns 11 and 12. They're really intimidating under the bridge and down the hill. So I'd never driven that portion of the track or even seen that portion of the track. So it was a little intimidating, but I really wanted to do well.
Really challenging for me with Road Atlanta was this was the first track that we had been to that had really heavy braking zones. specifically for 10A, 10B. And we had just changed brake pads, right? So we changed them from a set of street, let's say aggressive street pads to G-Lock R6 racing pads. And those things are phenomenal. Probably my favorite moment of the entire event, specifically because my family got to come out and see me, spend the day with us, watch the race, got to see me race on the big track.
Which one, Fifi? Yeah!
Nashville, interesting. Exclude weather and tornadoes and those kind of things. Big track, kind of like a gigantic autocross course, especially in the mini. The straights and the banking were just go along for the ride because it doesn't have enough speed, and then the turns were, kind of simple. Let's put it that way. But it was fine. The pavement was good.
This was really the first track where I started feeling really comfortable with the tires and the brakes of the car. It felt like I could really start pushing. But there are some tricky spots, right? Coming off the backstretch, you kind of go from the banked section to a flat section, you're turning left, and then you're going downhill off camber into a right-hand corner with big curves. So there's a couple of tricky spots. They weren't really that bad to manage at the speeds we were able to get in the Mini. But if you could push it a little bit harder, you could get where you could get into a tricky spot. Day 5, Eagles Canyon. It's a big, long track. There's several configurations. We ran the full configuration.
Fairly long, fairly complex track, but just gorgeous. I would love to go just do a track day at that track. I got to run mine in the dry. However, then the skies opened up. As
I'm gritting up to do my runs, the second these last maybe 2 or 3 run groups, had the pleasure of being able to run in a torrential downpour. It rained super hard for 30 minutes, and then it cleared up. And it started clearing up when we were finishing up our last spin. That meant when I was expecting to have a dry track, I ended up getting a pretty wet track with rivers and all kinds of things running across it. The car does not love water, so that's not ideal. I was pushing pretty hard. Watching the replays, you can't really tell, but like there is no grip underneath the front tires. I'm just having to try and turn them and straighten them and then turn them to try and get just a little bit of traction underneath it, so that once I can get some traction and some change of direction, then I can get on the throttle and get the car going faster again.
He did well for considering the conditions. He only, spun slightly.
Day 6, Hallet Motor Racing Circuit in Oklahoma.
Hallet was one of my favorite courses. It's old, the pavement's old, but what a fun track. I don't know why, except it just felt like it flowed naturally. And of all the tracks that we went to, I think I enjoyed that track the most.
It has a couple corners that I was concerned about based on my experience in the sim, but getting out there on the track, none of those bothered me at all. In fact, the only corner that was even questionable was the back half. You come around a 90-degree corner, 90-degree left-hand corner, and on the exit, you can tell where it's the ground's kind of shifted. It wasn't so much bumpy as it had like some whoops on the outside. And with the light back in, that would kind of scoot to the edge of the track as you went around that corner. So from Oklahoma, we headed back out to Kentucky.
Not super excited.
Day 7, National Corvette Museum Racetrack.
The skies decided to open up. I mean, it was a soaked track. It had quite a few places where you could stick the thing in the fence, and so I deferred to Brad at this track so that if it was going to go in the fence, he was going to be driving it.
That did not build confidence when it was my turn to run, and so I was a little put off by that, and the mountain of water. The Falcons not doing great in the rain to begin with. Like, my first runs in the wet were way slower than they probably needed to be. It is a very complicated track, very technical track, lots of elevation changes, lots of corners that you have to take in different directions and different setups for the type of car that you have. It's a really fun track when you get to do it. But around 11 o'clock, the weather cleared, and the afternoon sessions were dry, and I got to really push again. And the afternoon session was a ton more fun. I felt like I could actually attack the track a little bit, push the car, and really enjoy it. It was a ton of fun. It was probably the most surprising track of the course to me. It was the one I obviously didn't want to leave because I knew I missed the pit exit. The corner where I heard yell at me to go into the pits the right way.